All right. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone based on your location for attending this webinar today. Thank you, and thank you everybody who took the time to come and listen to some of the eminent industry leaders and technologists today in the retail CPG space. We have some distinguished leaders and technologist strategists lined up as a speaker today from Microsoft, from QuikTrip, and from SymphonyAI. And they will talk about the status of the industry in retail CPG and how the retailers are transforming themselves to join the retailers of the future club. And without further ado, I will just add a quick house rule. This webinar will be recorded and shared with you guys in a couple of days post our webinar day today. And as we open the floor for Q&A at the end of the sessions, please post your questions on the Q&A and we will respond as it's received or in the order it's received. So without further ado, I would like to invite David Kass, who is an industry strategist, industry speakers, a leader in the industry for decades, to come on stage and express or share his experience that Microsoft has been discussing with their customers today. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. John, can you go to the next slide?
Sure.
I just want to again, one more. I just want to again thank everybody for their time here. This is one of my favorite things to do. So I am an industry strategist with Microsoft. And what that means is I get to speak to our customers and our partners in the space about, number one, what challenges they're facing today. Number two, kind of who they want to be when they grow up. And then I get to bring the best of Microsoft and our partner network to help them do that. SymphonyAI being one of those partners. I have had a lot of conversations with convenience stores as part of this. I think it's one of the most interesting subverticals within retail because you really have anywhere from 5 to 10 different retail stores in a very confined space, managed typically by 1 or 2 people at a time. So you're trying to make the most of the space with a lot of complexity, and it's a challenge to do that perfect every day. What I'm gonna do for the next couple of minutes is just go through some challenges that we're seeing convenience stores face today and talk about where we're seeing the leaders in the industry really invest to address those challenges. If you don't mind going to the next slide. So for those of you in the convenience store space today, this should not be a surprise. I think C-stores has always had a challenge with both labor shortages as well as high turn, specifically labor shortages in night shifts and rural locations. But where C-stores are really investing to address this challenge has changed. First, they're offering more flexible scheduling tools where possible to make it easier for the relatively significant number of people that are working in stores to find the right spots for them. The promise of automation is starting to come true in the C-store space, specifically around food preparation. And then generative AI is really unlocking some potentials that C-stores have always faced. So where are leaders investing? One, particularly in Europe and Asia, we're seeing the investment and rollout of unmanned and nano stores that can run with limited or no staff in them. Second, robotics for repetitive tasks, specifically around food manufacturing. And then we're also seeing self-checkout and smart kiosks finally make its way into the C-store space. These technologies have really been utilized well in grocery, Some are rolling out in fashion, but we're seeing more of the widespread testing adoption of self-checkout and smart kiosks for food ordering in the C-store space. Lastly, AI assistance for store staff has been a trend that we're seeing across all retailers. I will say there's a special place for this within the C-store subvertical. The reason for that is you have a lot of complexity that's in that store right now, be it coffee machines, cutting keys, other drink beverages, other food beverages that require a fair bit of training to both stand up and maintain. But with that high turnover, having some of that knowledge is relatively difficult to maintain. We're seeing convenience stores use these AI staff assistants. So some of those maintenance tasks, like coffee machine repair, can actually be done in-house by an associate instead of having to call a technical maintenance man. On the right-hand side, for each of these challenges, we just wanted to call out kind of one specific example of who's kind of doing it illustratively well in this challenge. There is a convenience store chain out of Poland called Zabka, and they've really embraced the nano stores and the unmanned stores. And what they're doing is they're using computer vision and IoT sensors, both for the security and the transaction of these, so they can run these smaller stores with limited staffing. Next slide. Shrink and theft. Because of the 24-hour nature of the convenience store, and the trend of both shrink and theft in retail over the last couple of years, I think convenience stores are getting hit particularly hard. But they are investing in technology to address some of the shrink and theft effects. What we're seeing mainly is a lot of data-driven theft pattern analysis, both from a location level, but also for specific products. And convenience stores are both changing their assortment based on those theft patterns and putting more security measures around specific products. In general, we're seeing AI-powered camera and computer vision have the ability to spot specific suspicious behavior in stores and alert associates on certain customers that may come in. We've seen smart locking cases being used for high-value items. The difference between these smart locking cases and traditional smart locking cases is these smart locking cases for specific items can be unlocked by the customer themselves. And in areas like liquor or tobacco, well, not so much tobacco, but more liquor, they can protect that item without associate interface to unlock them. And then lastly, with just shrinkage in general and theft, we're seeing a lot of convenience stores have problems with on-shelf availability and keeping those inventories accurate. So to make sure that they're ordering the right things and they're ordering when they are stocked, we're seeing more of an investment in that on-shelf inventory availability monitoring through cameras to make sure that inventories are correct in store and they're ordering when they're out of stock. I mentioned smart lockers on the left-hand side. One of the partners of Microsoft that's really excelled here is Sync Technologies. And again, they have a smart locker technology that a customer can interface with. So you have those high value items locked up, but don't have the traditional friction of traditional lockers. Next slide, please. Another issue that we're seeing systemically in convenience stores is the change in customer behavior, both around tobacco and alcohol sales. Specifically, Gen Z is smoking less, they are drinking less, and these used to be very traditional trip drivers to the convenience store. So convenience store operators are looking for new business models to drive that continuous trip. I think the number one area where people are investing most is the food service and fresh offerings, both from a convenience point and a price point. They're really taking on that bottom end of the quick service restaurant, and people are now stopping at the 7-Elevens of the world for lunch in their car and maybe skipping that McDonald's. They're also investing in last mile delivery. And some of these convenience store chains are partnering with the Uber Eats of the world and launching their own last mile delivery system and doing tens of, if not hundreds of $millions for last mile delivery out of the store, both from a fresh food standpoint and center aisle. Also looking at new services to drive trips. In other regions, banking is very popular, but even cutting keys and other novelty categories are being explored throughout convenience store to drive trips. And then promotions and loyalty. We're seeing a lot of investment here by convenience stores, both convenience store chains that are trying to convert that gas trip into a door swing and get them inside and buying the higher margin fresh food in there, or vice versa. Convenience store chains that really specialize in that food, using that to drive the trip to the fuel pump as well. On the right-hand side, just, 7-Eleven has been very successful in its Asian markets with driving food purchases in store. And they have announced a significant investment into what the US food experience needs to be. From a technology side, to do this profitably in C-stores, you really need to get good at demand forecasting and other technologies to make sure, number one, the product is on the shelf and warm when it's needed, and number two, you're not wasting food. So we're seeing a lot of investment in that demand forecasting around that fresh food service to ensure profitability here. Next slide, please. And then lastly, if you haven't heard from my previous slides, the technology and the environment in the store is getting a lot more complex because you're running multiple connected businesses in those stores. In addition to that, there's been a fair bit of acquisition in the C-store industry in the Americas in the last 5 or 10 years. What this leaves C-store operators with is increased complexity in the store and a lot of different systems, some of them doing the same thing in stores. And C-store operators are really looking to consolidate both from a data standpoint, but also an application standpoint to make this simpler, both for operators and the people managing those systems. So we've seen a significant push to cloud and unified platforms over the last several years, but I think that journey is still ongoing. Especially in environments where we've seen multiple integrations and work. We're seeing C-stores actually implement an integration middle layer over that. So they can, if they're using something like generative AI, they do have that data pool to tap from instead of trying to get everything into one data source all at once. There is a lot more processing being done within the store itself. And C-store operators are investing in that edge computing to do some of that and not relying on the cloud for every analytical or generative AI request. Lastly, and kind of what brings us here today is those all-in-one connected solutions. So there's a because of the complexity, C-stores are looking to take more of a platform approach to some of their key capabilities. Supply chain is one example. When you link many of those pieces together, the sum is worth greater than its parts. So I'm going to hand it off to Charley, who's going to talk about his experience with SymphonyAI and how that connected solution has allowed them to do things they couldn't do without it. Thank you.
Sounds
Charley,
good.
over to you.
Appreciate it, David. You can go back to the last slide and just stick on this one slide for just a minute around convenience store space. So I've been with QuikTrip for about 10 years. I'm a program manager working for sales, distribution, and marketing. And when I joined the company, I was working in the enterprise architecture team for QuikTrip. And we actually met Symphony at the NRF Big Show in January, around 9 years ago. When we were there at NRF, we were looking for solutions that could help us automate our planogram maintenance. So at the time, I think we had around 700 or 750 convenience stores throughout the United States. And the maintenance of the stated desire planograms, or what we wanted to have on the shelves, was starting to get fairly cumbersome and non-scalable, especially as we entered additional markets. So to that end, we acquired Symphony shelf planning tools, which included basic shelf planning, the view for the store, so store employees could know where products need to go when they came in for replenishment or product replacement. And then over time, as we continue to get our data in a much better state of quality that we were using to give to Symphony so they could update our planograms and automate things, we implemented assortment, store clustering, and some other automation tools to make our sales planning process much easier. Without Symphony solutions, we would have had to significantly increase our sales team that supports our planograms, the products that go on the shelves, and the planning that goes along with that. And it made a huge difference for us to be able to keep headcount flat over time in the past 9 years. So it's been a big win for us. As you think about, as we continue to grow, we're at 1,170 plus stores now across the United States, all corporately held. We have markets that are continuing to develop that are outside of, call it, core divisions. We would call them remote travel centers. And, historically in the big divisions or big markets, we would send people to those areas and do site inspections and review, how are our teams doing executing the sales plays to make sure the product is on the shelf and in the right location. With the addition of Symphony's Shelf Intelligence or Store Intelligence product, we've been able to actually look at our on-shelf availability remotely using dashboards that are provided by Symphony and actually be able to observe on-shelf availability over time. And so that's been a great blessing for us, as we, continue to try to manage at scale, looking at not only stores that might be in a local market like a big municipality, but maybe out on the highway that are hard to get to. So it's been super interesting. David or John, do you have any questions about our journey, with Symphony and the use of Microsoft's Azure that made all of this possible?
I do. Through this process, what was your biggest learning as you started getting visibility into these processes that you didn't have without this tool?
Great question. I would say, part of the hardest lesson learned for QuikTrip is that, our data estate or data quality is really a key capability for us to be able to make analytical decisions, at scale. You've always heard the term garbage in, garbage out. If your data is not good or you don't have it well defined, it makes it really hard to create scalable cloud solutions that you can depend upon for decision making. And so we had to do a lot of data cleanup in the early days to make sure that we all had the same definitions for those data definitions and that we were using the data in a way that both parties understood, both from a technology perspective, but as a retail operator.
Yeah, that's great. What we've been seeing as well, AI made data governance an art. And now with generative AI and the more systems we're connecting, like it needs to be an art and a science. It's becoming more and more important to more of our customers. So what you said definitely resonates.
Thank you.
Charley, I'd love to understand, so as you deployed these solutions, what sort of impact did you see within QuikTrip, maybe with your sales teams or with customer satisfaction? What were the effects there?
Great question. I would say our category sales managers were happy because the way we were doing things previously was fairly manual. And so the ability to, introduce new products, get them swapped out, maybe do, like an annual reset more effectively without, a huge time lag for doing all the planning. we saw basically quicker time to value for the decisions that our category sales managers were making. And so that improved our ability to execute the plays as we had new offers from suppliers. And then ultimately, when we think about our customers, we have the right product on the shelf at the right time, and we know that we have it in stock because we're measuring that on-shelf availability, on a daily basis.
Awesome. Wonderful to hear. Jay, I'll suggest perhaps we...
Yeah, I have one question for Charley. Where do you see that you guys are at the forefront of the bleeding edge of accepting technology? Thank you. That's really reshaping QuikTrip's business to be the retailer of the future, a model retailer of the future. Let me put it that way.
Thank you.
Where do you see that you are taking the business from here, adopting more technology around cleaning up the data and accessing the technology to really make the changes that will hit your top line as well as your profit margins? Is there something that you guys are thinking around?
Jay, that's a great question. So, historically, call it 10 years ago, we were very Excel-based, looking at graphs, reports, tabular data, trying to understand what the trend was, trying to understand where things were going. With the introduction of generative AI and the ability to quickly process a large amount of data, we think that, the Cindy style category coach capability will be a huge benefit to our category sales managers that are looking for exceptions that they need to manage or things that they need to deal with versus just overall trending and understanding where the market is going or where sales are going in a particular division. It'll help pull the needle out of the haystack. Like, this is the thing you should care about. It'll help us quickly realize, what we need to be changing in terms of our business model, as well as, any kind of additional things we should have from an insights perspective as we think about our consumers and how their buying behavior is changing over time.
Great. Thank you so much, Charley.
Yeah.
I think, John, you want to deep dive on the solutions and show people around that. I will stop sharing. I will let you drive. You are the master on this. So let me stop sharing and you to start. Once you are done, hand it over to me because I have to bring up some of the other things. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
No worries. Also, thank you, Charley, for the nice segue into Cindy. So I'd like to just take the team through what Cindy is and what we're building in the AI space. First off, I just want to say, I love the progress and what you've done, Charley. It's inspiring to see how QuikTrip continues to lead in the convenience space. And at SymphonyAI, we're really proud to partner with you to help make those outcomes real. So if we look at what SymphonyAI is within retail, the mission is simple. It's to help retailers like QuikTrip and your CPG partners succeed. And in the last couple of years, what we've observed is that retail's been undergoing some profound transformations. And I just want to really quickly show you what that looks like. So first, starting on the left, if we think about the traditional approaches that we've been taking, think of category management doctrine, merchandising, pricing, promotion, supply chain, they've all been managed in silos. This is great if you're trying to optimize within a single category, but it absolutely misses cross-category effects. So for us, something like how soda drives snacks or how promotions might shift a basket. And our customers don't shop a single aisle or a single category, they shop whole store. When we don't look at that perspective, we leave a lot of money on the table. Second, reacting to the past, that's no longer good enough. By the time our teams analyze what happened and decide what to do, the market's already shifting out from under us and that opportunity's gone. So the mindset shift is going from what happened and what should I do to asking, what do I want to happen and what are the steps to get there? That builds up into this operating model that's starting to change. Specifically, it's accelerating. Looking at annual or quarterly planning, that doesn't keep up with the market. It doesn't keep up with competitions. It doesn't keep up with the fickle consumer. The world doesn't stand still for us. And so we can't either. So planning and execution become live processes, continuously adapting to new conditions and evolving customer behavior. There's good news in all of this, though, which is at Symphony, we see a new model of AI-enabled strategy that's emerging. So think about strategy and planning that's continuously monitored, refined, re-steered, and optimized in real time across the 4 Ps, across categories, and across the supply chain. And finally, for the first time, we've got technology that can operate at the speed of business. AI can scan the horizon 24/7, identify every opportunity as it surfaces, and capture them before that window of opportunity closes. It also unlocks incredible scale. Charlie gave a really great example, actually, of how QuikTrip is using planogram automation. Just to double click on that, he was able to almost double the number of stores that he was working with, that they're generating planograms for, but with the same valuable and talented team he already had. That's an incredible outcome. To capitalize on these trends and unlock this shift, we created Cindy. That's the Connected Insights and Decision Engine. This is an AI platform for growth. It's built on 3 core areas: merchandising, store and space, and demand performance. Within merchandising, you can think of pricing, promotion, assortment, customer behavior, sales. Within store and space, this is store operations, store intelligence. We'll go into what store intelligence is shortly. I'll show you a little bit of that product so you can see firsthand what that looks like. And then demand performance, which is all about the supply chain, understanding your changing sources of demand, what drives it up, what drives it down, how do you adjust your forecast, your replenishments, your allocations accordingly. Cindy handles each of these areas with best-in-class AI, but it actually does more than that. It's this piece in the center here, which connects the dots. So with that, you can understand how customer behavior influences promotions, how promotions shape assortment, how assortment impacts demand forecasts, and this goes hyper-local all the way down to the individual store, product, and customer segment. All of this is delivered as a SaaS product running on Microsoft Azure. So we've got things underneath like Microsoft OpenAI and Fabric. Microsoft's been a critical partner. They've been giving us the advanced technology foundation to build expert-level retail AI. And I'd like to show you exactly how that works. So we'll bring up this, and we'll go here. So this is Cindy. What you're looking at is the sales performance of about 300 convenience stores, sales through the last week. Across the top, key KPIs, what you'd expect to see. I've got sales, units, trips, households. But there are AI elements on this page that call out what I need to pay attention to. For example, where to focus. This looks through all attributes of product, store, customer demographic, channel, and it identifies what do I need to pay attention to because it's either driving sales up or driving sales down. And so we can see we've got a performance issue in the beer category. E-commerce is driving sales up. Cola is doing well. Sweet snacks are doing well. But my beer and my, specifically my water in my soft drinks, I'm having an issue. Those are, I'll call them known attributes because they come from our product hierarchy. They come from our store master. They come from our customer attributing. But the AI is also able to go further and identify emerging segments and emerging trends in behavior. So what you see on the right, and actually David alluded to this earlier, the rise of the non-alcoholic beverage. What has happened here is the AI has gone through all of my sales for the past week. It's actually gone through the past 52 weeks. You can see that right here. And it's identified where are the new behavior clusters coming up. So I can see within my non-alcoholic beverages, my large size, it looks like my non-alcoholic Milwaukee beverage, it's not doing so well. I've got a negative year-over-year trip penetration. However, I take a look at some of the others. Heineken's doing all right. St. Pauli's doing well. And Athletic Run, you'd actually expect this is a pretty hot brand. This is doing the best of all of them. And I can see, all right, that affects 2.6 thousand households, and it's having an effect of a 1% lift on sales. I don't have to look for any of this stuff. All of it is just surfaced automatically for me. So I don't need to scan the horizon. I don't need to run a million reports. I don't need to have a team of 5 or 10 analysts searching for different patterns. The AI is doing that for me on demand anytime I need it. I'm going to zoom in on the chips and snacks category, which is very important for us in the convenience space. And what I've done here is I've simply asked Cindy for a category review. I want to understand performance of this category, check every possible lens, check all the factors, tell me what matters, tell me what I should do. If you think about how that is done right now, it's a very manual process. To get a category review, if you're lucky, if your team isn't tied up with anything else, might take a few hours to put together. They're pulling from different systems, maybe Excel, maybe Tableau, maybe they're pulling from some point of sale, operational systems, and then they have to unify all that data together and tell a coherent story. Here, Cindy is doing that for us. So I can see within my chip category, here's my key KPIs, but I also understand what happened, and we'll zoom in on this. This tells me my sales are down 5.57%. If I scroll down at the bottom, I've got a nice little headline. Sales are down due to a decrease from price-driven customers. So I immediately know, all right, I can start to connect the dots between what has happened and what is causing it. I can also see where performance effects are occurring. So this is, again, just like we saw in the last screen, looking at product, store, channel, customer. So we see Pepsi's having a bad week. So is Tostitos. Cheetos is doing quite well. We can also take this from the view of customer behavior and customer segments. So these are my loyalty segments and performance. I've got actually multiple reds here. I've got an issue with my most loyal customers, my most price-driven customers, and then this is also a behavioral segment. This is my folks who like to cook from scratch. They're declining, contributing to 1.8 decline in sales. And this AI model is kind of fun. This one looks at it from the perspective of, all right, we know there's a sales issue. How do we change it? What are our actions to change outcomes? And from the perspective of those levers, which one should I pull? So I can change pricing, I can change promotion, I can change on-shelf availability, I can change assortment. On-shelf availability, I'm doing it right there. I don't need to do anything. Assortment, I've got an issue. That's another way to look at that is this is an opportunity to change outcomes, to get more sales, to get more margin. All of this, and we're going to move through this very quickly because this is a short demo, but all of this is explainable. You can see all the math, all of the reasoning for it. But what's powerful here is when you're trying to find the big signal, the thing that matters, you just get that handed to you, and then you know what to do next. So we need to make an adjustment in our assortment. To do that, this AI platform has access to all of the data that represents what's going on in your business. Point of sale, supply chain, so inventory both at the warehouse and at the store, planograms, the store intelligence data that Charley mentioned earlier, which we're going to show you in a second. But it can bring all of that together to help me answer a very straightforward question. So in this case, my assortment, I'm having an issue. I want to fix that. So I can ask, what products should I add or delist? You might notice I didn't say the word assortment here. Instead, I said what I meant, as opposed to using a technical or a specific term. The AI is able to figure out when someone in the role that I'm in, looking at the screen that I'm looking at, asks a question like this, they very likely mean what products are not earning their share of shelf, what products are driving even more sales than even more share of sales than they have share of shelf, and what should I start switching out? So what do I need to pull out? What do I need to add in? It's going through, and it's moving fairly quickly, but you see it go through a collection of AI models and a collection of AI experts to figure out, all right, let's try this, let's evaluate that, let's identify, is it this data set or that method? And let's take a look at what it came back with. So remember, we're in the chip category. It's showing me that I've got my executive summary here. There's clear opportunities to add products with strong incremental sales. I can see the background information to understand. We're looking at a potential opportunity of $500,000 of additional growth if I add these products. And then I can see exactly the plan of what to do. So these products here, this kettle jalapeno, added to 400 stores. That'll give me $551,000 in sales. But it also calculates the net impact because it's taking into account halo and substitution and cannibalization effects. So when we introduce a new product in, there may be a substitute on the shelf. So we're not going to get this full 551. Instead, we're going to net out at 235. It does that same calculation for products that are removed from the shelves. And you can see these peanut butter twirls, remove them from 88 stores. This is the net loss, again, accounting for halo, cannibalization, all of that fun stuff. So there's a lot of power here in that you can just ask the question, and it built all of that on the fly. One of the things it used to build that analysis is what Charley was referring to as far as shelf or store intelligence. So what we have here is an image capture from the shelf. This is one of my potato chip bays. This is a larger store. We are agnostic to the approach of image capture. It could be a fixed camera, it could be a mobile device, it could be a robot if you're using that sort of thing. Doesn't matter. We just need the images. What we can do is we apply AI models to automatically identify all the products. So if I click on this one here, we can see that's Cheetos Simply White Cheddar Puff Party Pack. And I click on this one, and you can see it's able to recognize what all those products are on the shelf. And you're probably noticing these color coding as well. What's happening there is we have an authorized planogram. We know, what was the optimal assortment, what was the optimal position, and we have that information loaded in. This tells us the state of, if everything were right in the world and the shelf were perfect, here's what it should look like. But we also know that the real world doesn't always reflect, best laid plans. So the AI is automatically linking up the product that's on the shelf to the planogram. Green is good. That's the right product in the right place. Yellow is an execution error. It's a hole on the shelf. Red is a product that it's actually not authorized on the planogram, not supposed to be out on the floor. And then if I've got a blue, yes, this blue identifies products that they're authorized to be in this spot. They're just in the wrong position. My action here is to move this to shelf 4, position 2. As you can imagine, this saves a ton of time if you're trying to do, if you're comparing to shelf gap analysis, walking through manually identifying what's there, what's not there. With a single picture, you can take care of an entire set of bays. So that drives operational improvements in terms of what's not on shelf, can also identify what price tags are missing, what planogram changes need to happen. But that information also feeds in, because we were speaking earlier about the ability to connect all the dots and see how everything affects everything else. That real-time use of space at every store for every product feeds into assortment optimization, feeds into planogram optimization. It even feeds all the way back up here where we started when we were looking at key KPIs. The second row is KPIs around on-shelf availability, and then the concept of not on shelf where we have physical inventory, or rather we have store inventory. Another way to describe this is the product's in the back room. It's not where the customer can get to it though. And we can quantify the opportunity of, like, what if we changed the replenishment schedule? What if we changed labor in order to get that product on the shelf? Exactly how much would that be worth? And that's what you see here, this 38 million. So that's a very quick taste of what we offer within our Cindy platform, with the ability to connect the dots. I'm going to come back to one more slide. And so I just want to share that with Cindy, what we have is AI specifically built for retail. It sees the connections between merchandising, supply chain, and store operations, and it all comes together into a single system of intelligence, planning, and execution. And the outcomes have been pretty strong. Our customers are seeing results like 2% sales growth, 10% improvement in on-shelf availability, and 70% productivity gains. To think about how to understand that number, I asked for an assortment optimization live just now. That, if you were using another system that wasn't an expert system that understands how assortment works, understands how category management works, that's a very manual process. It would likely take at minimum a half hour, if not multiple hours and multiple people, but we did it in about 30 seconds. So Jay, I'd like to hand it off to you.
Thank you, John. If you stop sharing, I'll fire up my deck. There are some house things that we can show. The floor is now open for Q&A, and I also have my colleague, Stephen, who is reading through the questions that are coming in for our speaker lineup. And Steve, is there any questions that you have that you would like to bring up?
Yeah, we did have one come in off the chat, but I don't know if anybody saw David's response. So I'll go ahead and read that. Do either of you have any thoughts on dynamic assortment? The ability to change product availability to the different customer types that come to the convenience gas stores at different times of the day. Do you see automation getting all the way to shelf replenishment and change outs?
On the assortment, Yes, 100. Actually, that's a capability. I didn't show it in that very brief product demo, but that assortment optimization is space aware, so it understands how much space is in each individual store. It's also aware of customer behavior, because not all of your stores are going to have the same mix of folks walking in the door. So it's matching up that customer behavior to figure out, which store clusters based on behavior should get a particular assortment. And I believe there was a second part to that question, which if you could play it back to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, do you see automation getting all the way to shelf replenishment and changeouts?
Yes. The way I would describe that, or the way I suggest to think about that, is this connected framework that you saw, Cindy being able to see how merchandising affects demand forecasting, which affects supply chain, getting all the way out to shelf replenishment. That's the linkage between do I have the right assortment? Do I have the right labor schedule to support that assortment? I suggest there's also elements of, do I have the right forecasting and ordering and allocation in the supply chain to support that assortment to that particular store? But Cindy's able to connect all of those dots.
Thanks. Question for Charley. With the intelligence you now receive from managing planogram compliance from across diverse store locations, how have remedial actions changed for QuikTrip?
So I guess two things. So not only are we getting the products back on the shelf sooner, back into compliance, it's improved order forecasting because we understand our on hands a lot better. But we're also directing the labor for our precious labor in the store to be more specific, not generalized, like go check an area. We can direct them specifically to the fixture that needs addressing, that has the lowest compliance, to get it back, into compliance with on-shelf availability and get the products in the right spot on the fixture.
All right, thanks.
Just to add to that, I think Charley's identified something really important there, which is not all problems are worth fixing. And the ability to prioritize and say, you know what, the to-do list says 55 items, but really the top 4 are what matter. Let's just do those. I think that's
100%.
It's a really powerful insight.
Great. All right. Okay. Oh, another question for Charley. What are the most significant operational changes for store associates since implementing AI solutions, and how has this affected employee engagement and talent attraction?
Sure. So I would just say, like with the introduction of shelf intelligence or store intelligence from Symphony, we've given our associates an iPad, which is relatively new. They've had a smaller handheld in the past for managing orders, but the iPad has given them the ability to quickly update, call it shelf-related tasks, so moving product, getting product in the right place, restocking, and so forth, quickly within the system itself, and it's directing their work. So no longer do they need to scan across 20 or 30 fixtures to figure out what do I need to work on first. It's already done that work for them. So again, it's helping them direct to where they need to spend their time the most, at the highest priority, knowing that when they're doing this work, they're not at the check stand checking out customers.
Right.
Hey, there are tons of questions, Steve, coming in. I think you can also see the Q&A. Yes, there's so many. Oh, I love it.
Right.
So what I don't know, everybody, that whether we'll be able to answer all these questions that we received today, and they're all fantastic questions, to be very candid. But we will definitely try to respond as many. And in case we could not respond to it live today, it will be answered back by this eminent speaking panel via emails very soon. So don't get disheartened if your answer is not given today on live. But continue, Steve, please.
Okay. All right. Here's one for I think David. How can retailers best assure they stay ahead of rapid changes in AI technology? So that's that one's for the panel, I guess.
I'll be honest with you. I live, breathe, and swim in this stuff every day, and I can't keep up with it. There is so much new stuff happening, but at the end of the day, any retailer just needs to look at their customer, what pain points their customers are dealing with, and continuously be striving to solve those pain points, being with the latest generative AI technology or just redoing processes. So I always use customer as the main signal of where you are and where you need to invest. So I would continue to look for those customer signals.
Hey, this question might be for John. For additions, deletions, reallocations, does Cindy take into account number of facings and the physical space required for each product? For example, I might want to swap one product for another and they're similar in size. In other cases, they might be very different in size, or I might just want to reduce, not remove, a product to make room for a new one. How are these things handled today?
So it is space aware, so it understands all the way down to the individual shelf in every store. What we added recently, and I showed that with the store intelligence capabilities, it's considering two things. It's considering the planogram and what the size of the fixtures are, or basically what the plan of that space is. But the wonderful thing about store intelligence and computer vision is you can close the loop and check, hey, is the real world actually aligned to that plan? You might send a store a plan that has 2 bays for chips, but that store physically can't stick that second bay in there, and so they didn't. And so there's only 1 bay there. Cindy is able to identify, hey, reality and plan don't align. You need to actually work with the real space that's there, not the space that you would like to be there. So it's it definitely, I mean, very quick answer, yes, it absolutely considers facing and size, and it knows the dimensions of the product. When I had that screen up and I was clicking on each of the products, you might have noticed a wealth of metadata came back, including the product image. It's got the weight, anything you'd expect from your MDM system. It can tap into that to figure out, all right, I can fit 4 of these here, or I can take this one product out and stick 2 smaller ones in there. That all happens automatically. I should note the planogram generation that Charley's using incorporates aspects of that as well, because in order to automatically generate a planogram, you need to know space of items and how many facings.
So yeah, for QuikTrip, we're doing that in the virtual, just so you know, first, and then deploying that to the physical. I believe with the store intelligence solutions that Symphony has, you can actually do a realogram, which is taking the physical world and putting it back to the virtual, which is something new I hadn't seen up until about 2 years ago. So I thought that was something new and ingenious from the Symphony team.
Right. Hey, John, another question came in as you were doing the store intelligence piece. Is this solution leveraging Copilot agents?
I'm going to guess that might be a reference to Microsoft Copilot. So it is definitely using agent technology. You may have noticed when I interacted with it, it was named Copilot. Under the hood, we're using Microsoft OpenAI capabilities. We're not specifically linking into Microsoft Copilot, but it has the ability to federate. So you can, one of the things we're talking about with some of our customers is they already have their own generative AI style Copilot. You can think of Walmart with Wall-E, or other companies are doing similar things. What we've created is the ability for those agents to call Cindy, where Cindy might have an answer that they don't have access to, or vice versa. Hopefully that answers the question. Please ask again if you were asking about like agentic technology or something else.
No, it's I think, at least for now, time is almost up. I just want to continue and thank you guys. As I told you earlier to the audience here, we have recorded this. We will send it out to you guys for more information. All your questions will be answered individually. So stay tuned. There will be answers from us. But before we leave and close this, many of you might be going to NACS next week, which is happening on October, I think 16th to 18th or 14th to 17th, something like that, at McCormick Place. SymphonyAI has a booth, and we will be there and very happy to accommodate any questions you may have on C-Store that we solve for C-Store customers worldwide, or if you need to have additional information. If you are going, fantastic, please send us a note and we can set up a meeting now. Or if your colleagues are going, do refer us, and Microsoft and SymphonyAI can jointly meet you there and answer all your questions you may have. It's very soon, but stay tuned. This webinar recording, as I said, will be shared. But beyond the webinar recording, stay tuned for an email. There'll be a surprise joint offering from both Microsoft and SymphonyAI that will hit your inbox in next 5 to 7 business days. And that will be surprising and good for your business benefit. With that, I will close this webinar today. Thank you again to the whole panelist team, David, Charlie, John, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to this audience who made it a day for us, for listening in, for their time. We hope we really created some value for your time. And see you soon, meet you again, and stay in touch. Thank you, and we are closing the webinar today now. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Bye.